Today, I'm waiting for the encore. My guest is Shawn Garnett. I met Shawn at a gig in Las Vegas 5 years before this interview, and he's kept me laughing on social media ever since. He's a big, warm Hawaiian teddy bear who plays music professionally and guest stars on 2 different network TV shows, Hawaii Five-0 and Magnum P.I. It was great sitting down and catching up, so please enjoy my talk with Shawn Garnett.
Just because, whatever. All right, joining me all the way from Hawaii, Mr. Shawn Garnett. How are you doing, my friend?
I am excellent. I am just, woke up and the sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the lawnmower guys are lawn mowing. And, it probably
what island are you on out there in Hawaii?
I'm on Oahu, which is the most populated island of them all. And just a rock in the middle of the sea. And,
well, I've been out to Hawaii for my wedding, actually. So we my wife eloped out there, so we familiar with the beauty out there, and it's a really beautiful place. And we can get into all the stuff you guys are dealing with in just a little bit, but we've only met one time. We met at a gig in Las Vegas, at the House of Blues in Las Vegas, and we were sharing the stage, and that's the only time we've met, but you were such a warm, lovely guy. I'm glad we've been able to stay in touch over the years.
Yeah.
And so why don't you take us back a little bit and kind of tell us how things were going for you, but also for your beautiful state and island out there mid-March when everything was kind of getting kicked off with Corona, and how your life was supposed to unfold for the coming months and how it's changed dramatically since then.
Wow. Okay. So let me take us back. So, when I got home, playing gigs is what I do. And also filming, for Hawaii Five-0 or Magnum P.I. Then I do radio. So I'm kind of already busy. When it hit, like I remember the first call I got was from Roy's Beach House down on North Shore, and he's like, "Hey, dude, this Corona thing is kind of happening. They're shutting down everything." I'm like, "Oh, all right, okay. We can't do the music program thing." So okay, so whatever. And then it just snowballed. One after another, got emails and emails, and I was just like, "Wow, this thing is really serious,"
Yeah.
And it got it affected us, like financially. Because that's what I do, play music, and also the filming. Luckily, 5-0 was done with season 10, and there was no more film. It ended right when Corona happened, So I knew I wasn't going to be filming anymore. But if Magnum P.I. was going to come back, because I did a few on there, but it was just a waiting game, and staying home, going to Costco, get your toilet paper. People were going so nuts on toilet paper, like over here. I think,
man, same here.
And before we went on, how Zoom is really cool and all that. I think toilet paper companies caused the Corona thing, because they're like, guys, toilet paper sales are low. We need something to bring back the people, And it was just so nuts, and totally affected us. But at the same time, I think this lockdown didn't really change anything in my lifestyle, because I stay home anyway. I go out when I need to go out, and I just stay home. So this lockdown was kind of like a second blessing, Just stay home,
just brings everybody down to your level.
It does. And honestly, there's some positivity out of this stupid stuff in the world, stayed home and played guitar, wrote a lot of songs, learned a lot more cover songs, and thank God for Tiger King, on Netflix. Thank God for all those stuff on Netflix, because we're at home. There's nothing else to do, So there was some positive stuff that came out of this COVID hoopla.
Tiger King was really the big fireworks in that first month. I remember April, everyone was Tiger King.
Yeah, it was the start of the, this is 2020.
Yeah. It was such a quick rise and fall for Tiger King too. It was like everyone's talking about Tiger King for all of about 2 weeks, and then shortly thereafter people were like, all right, these people are pretty crazy, and this is pretty fad, and we're done with these people now. So
it was nice to bring America together, or the world
Yeah,
together, in the midst of all this hoopla, COVID crapness, you know. But
definitely. So we can get more into all the COVID stuff and kind of what you've been doing and all that stuff. But let's go back. I'm very interested in where all these musical people come from, including yourself. So I assume that you are from Hawaii originally, but why don't you tell us kind of where exactly you're from, what growing up was like for you, specifically in the music realm, when you became, super fascinated by, obviously most young people enjoy music, but when did it become kind of a path for you, and who were your early influences and all that good stuff?
gotcha. Let me see. So growing up in Hawaii is kind of like growing up everywhere else, except you're on a rock on an island. Um, Everybody loves everybody for the most part. You know, you look out for everybody. We call everybody uncle, auntie. You know, I went to high school. I still talk to all my high school friends, which is pretty cool. Started in the band, high school band, played trumpet, and everybody was bringing the guitars to school. So I was like, "Oh, what is this?" So I, try to learn some chords. I'm like, "This is boring," because I got to do all this for one chord. I was like, "No, that's all right. I'm gonna go play video games." And then, they just after high school, graduated, just started doing barbecue, backyard barbecue parties. Just playing acoustic with my uncles and all that. And then I was like, "Oh, okay, I can sing pretty okay." So um, started teaching myself. I remember sitting on my bed with my guitar, and I had the poster, guitar chords poster. I don't know if
Hmm.
you've seen it, like
Yeah, absolutely. I know what you're talking about.
our in Tower Records. I was showing my age right there. Guitar chord poster, and I was like sitting on my bed looking up. I was like, okay, that's G. ASUS. What the hell is that chord? I was like, okay, I'm just gonna finger it A. That's good. That's good. And for me, like I really don't know chords. I really don't know. If it sounds like it, then yeah, it's cool. I'm very lazy and my brain is kind of dumb. So influences, I would say, growing up as a kid, I love like local comedians, because I'm a ham, I guess. Oh, I live in Hawaii, so I'm a spam. So I love like Frank DeLima, Rap Replinger. I'm naming some local comedians here. And then Weird Al came along, and I was like, oh man, I love Weird Al. And yeah, Weird Al was cool. And as I started growing up, in the 80s, 90s came along, the grunge era. We all know the grunge era. But I got really into like the punk rock and the ska and stuff. That kind of stuff really resonated for me. Started writing tunes like that, and like Sublime. Sublime was probably one of the biggest influences on me. Like Bradley Noel. Bradley Noel. Like I wish that the idiot was here. Like I wish he didn't take drugs.
Yeah.
Because I would love to meet him. But Sublime was a very big influence on me. Listening to the Clash, Joe Strummer, and I just have a weird, like, just hodgepodge of musical, whatever. It's
For sure.
Sublime, Weird Al, and they got the Clash.
Did
And
you
they
ever
just
see Weird
moved.
Al live?
Oh, dude, yeah. And when I was living in Vegas, it was probably the best show I ever watched.
I
And
saw him when I was like, I saw him, I don't know how old I was. I think it was right before high school, or maybe I was 13, 14. Definitely one of the top 10 shows I've ever seen. It's a great show.
and and
Great
and like
show.
the dudes that ran the sound and everything. I used to live in Vegas for about 5 years, and I was in like a ska reggae rock band, and we had to play. We played shows at like these event centers and all that. So it was the same dude that did the sound for our shows that did it for Weird Al. So I met one of them. I was like, "Hey, Sean, how you doing?" Hey, bro, how's the show? Like, dude, it's Weird Al. I love Weird Al. I was like, and then you go like, "You think I can meet Weird Al?" And he's like, "Yeah, bro, come here." I'm like, "Oh." So my wife and I went to meet Weird Al. It was like really cool. I was a dork.
Well, I'm sure I mean, he's a dork too, but he's
Oh,
from what I've seen, he's a super nice guy, I would assume.
dude, he is the most loveliest guy ever.
Yeah.
I would take a bullet for him. Um, yeah, so
That's
it's
beautiful.
it was so awesome, really cool. So like yeah, like the music progressed and all that, and I kind of left the band, and I always liked Jack Johnson. You know, he was a very just mellow kind of dude. Donovan Frankenreiter, you know, Amos Lee, all those kind of baby making music. You know, like I kind of progressed from like the punk rock and the ska to like a more mellow kind of stuff, and that's probably what I'm doing right now. You know, but I still have the punk rock and like the ska. And, like I try to throw in a little bit of that when I write or whatever. So
yeah.
that's like
punk rock is it's funny because when I was thinking about this within the last couple of years, but blues music you hear in every form. You know, you hear it in every form from 1920s on, really. And then once punk hit, I think you hear punk in almost every form since punk has been. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's some stuff you don't, but in every form of, you know, energetic music, punk is like the most influential form since the blues, I would say. It's just so, it's because it's just that energy is within all of us who have any sort of frustration or anything.
Yeah, man, when I heard like when I started getting into the Clash, it was just like, man, this is different. You know, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And you know, like they progressed. You know, like, and I watched the you know, Joe Strummer documentary. Like they really progressed from like, you know, like White Riot, and then you have Rock the Casbah. And I was like, okay, this is different. You know, like I can get into that. And I think as a band, that's what you should do. You just evolve and like just keep on going, but still keep the elements of like, you know, from where you were, you know, how you began. And that's
Clash, why super sophisticated. I was into them at a young age too. I think I was probably 15 when I picked up that Clash album, and that's a good age to pick up a Clash album. That's good because it's punk, but it's, you know, obviously the Clash is like, that's like the Beethoven of punk or whatever you want to call it, you know.
The only band that matters.
So you said you lived in Vegas, and obviously you've been in Hawaii a lot. So have you lived anywhere else besides those two spots?
I think I lived in San Antonio. I don't say I think. I did live in San Antonio. That was when I was like 2. We moved, like I was born in Hawaii, and then we moved to San Antonio like when I was like 2 or 3, I think. Lived there for a couple of years, and then moved back home. But other than that, I haven't lived anywhere else.
How did you like Vegas?
You know, it was good. You know, I had family over there. I lived with family. Hawaii, I mean, Vegas is the 9th island. A lot of local people out there. So it's not like I was leaving Hawaii because, you know, everywhere I go, there's a local brother from, you know, Kalihi or from Minalani or whatever. It's like, oh, bro, you know that kind, Uncle Jerry. Yeah, I know Uncle Jerry. Yeah, right on. Me and him used to live down the street. That's how Hawaii is. You know, like you just, you know, you could say a name like, you know, Mokuahi. He's like, hey, Mokuahi, that's the wrestler, right? Sammy Steamboat. Yeah, it's my uncle. Like that's how, you know, like everybody communicates and all that. But Vegas was cool. I mean, it has Del Taco. It has Cane's. It has all the good places. In-N-Out Burger. But like anywhere else, you know, there's some positive, there's some negative, you know, like the difference between people and all that, you know, I could see it, but that's why you got to bring the aloha with you and like try to draw aloha everywhere you go.
How old were you when you were in Vegas?
2007. I was 23, 24. I was around there.
Yeah. So that's a pretty good age to be in Vegas. Yeah, Vegas, I've only visited. Well, I've never even took a proper vacation there. It's only been for gigs, and I've probably been there about 5 times. And honestly, like when I'm there, it's in summer, so I'm trying to get out of there as soon as possible. I think I've been there once in the fall, and other than that, it's the summer. I'm like, just get me out of here, because I'm there to work, and it's like, you know, there's no comfort to it whatsoever. It's just hot But I mean, we actually found a blues club there that was pretty good for a couple of years. We liked that spot.
Which one? What was that one called?
Gosh, what was it? Do you know any of the blues clubs there? I should know it. I just haven't thought about it in a little while.
Dive Bar.
It's a local one, and they play from like 10 to 12. It's like your classic blues joint setup.
It's not the BB King one, right?
No. It's
I can't remember.
I don't know why I can't think of it. Anyway, but yeah, Vegas seemed okay. You know, I don't know if it was a place I
Yes.
would live. Why is it so popular among Hawaiians? Is it just coincidence, or is there something there that brings people there?
I have no idea. I mean, maybe Hawaiians or local people want to, they like gambling or whatever. It's
Hmm.
so funny. It's like, okay, you leave an island from all the local people, all the locals, and you go to a hotel filled with more locals called the California Hotel. So you're like leaving Hawaii just to go to some place that has Hawaiians. And it's like, dude, just go on a strip or something. Go somewhere else. But they cater to the locals, and like honestly, like Hawaii is the cost of living expensive over here.
Yeah.
Like to get a house, like $500,000 can get you a broom closet over here, and
Jeez.
extra $100,000 for a broom. So just move to Vegas. You can get like a 5-bedroom house for like a couple dollars or whatever.
Hmm.
It's just better opportunities, and
Hmm.
yeah, I don't get it either. Like, well, I don't know why Hawaiians want to go up there, but they do, and yeah,
So speaking of Hawaii, just getting back to that, because obviously it's got a certain aura around it of being
yeah,
just incredibly beautiful, and also obviously a huge tourist spot and very expensive, and a place where you definitely hear about the conflicts between you know the indigenous, the islanders versus
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of the people who came thereafter. Um,
yeah,
Obviously, you found enough that you enjoy. Obviously, it's home for you, but you did come to the mainland
yeah.
and stay here for a while, but then you went back. So what is it about Hawaii that kept you there? Is there, other than it being home, but with it being so expensive, and you have a family, I think, right? You said you had a wife, and
Yeah.
you have a
Yeah,
kiddo,
wife, I
don't
have a
you?
boy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you guys obviously make it work, but has it always been like, yeah, we're here, we're good? Or are you kind of like, well, I don't know, should we go
Yeah.
somewhere else?
My wife loves it here. I mean, she lived in
Hmm.
Vegas, and she was born in California and lived in Vegas for 20 plus years. And I met her up there, that, and when I was done with the band, I was done with Vegas. Vegas is just, it can suck your soul out, like
Hmm.
you
I
could
can see
just,
that for sure.
yeah, like if you're not into the the whole 24/7 thing, the whole 24/7 alcohol and all that. I wasn't really into that crap,
Right.
but it's a feeling you get where you're just like, I think I'm done. I think I'm done. And you ever watched the TV show Lost? You know,
I have never seen Lost. Most
you heard
people
it.
I know have,
You heard
but I know it, of course. Yeah, I know the premise
uh,
of it and everything.
the island always calls you back for some reason.
Uh,
That's what happens to local people. Like, they go to Vegas for a little while, come back home, and for some reason, like something was calling me back home. So, and also my grandparents were getting old, so went home to, maybe take care of them or help around the house, and just different start. And then that's basically it. Like I
yeah,
did I did what I had to do up in the mainland.
mhm.
Thankful for that. Made all my connections and did what I was, and now I'm going back home, and it's a good thing I did. Really good thing I did.
Yeah, I've always been drawn to the ocean. Like I told you earlier, I think it was before we started recording, but we were planning to move to California, and Hawaii obviously is. I've been there. I think I was there. I think I went once with my parents when I was really young, and then I went for my
Yeah.
wedding with my wife. But it's just, if I had the resources to do so, that's a place, and I think my wife agrees with me. We would jump on it in a heartbeat. It's just so,
Yeah.
whether it's because my wife would tell me I'm a Pisces and that's why, but I'm always drawn to places where there's ocean, and a place obviously that's rich in its own music, just the Hawaiian music. I'll put on Hawaiian, like folk music,
Yeah.
every decent amount of time, because it's like reggae in that it
Mhm.
has that transportation element. It
Yeah.
transports you to a very calm, beautiful, happy place, So I think if that was home for me, I would probably be back there as well.
Yeah, man. Like when you say about music, like there's a few Hawaiian songs that just transports me to when I was 7. Hanging out with my grandpa. We used to go to this place on Waikiki called Smorgies. Perry Boys Smorgies. basically it's like a buffet place. You know, you go eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that was the best memory. And hearing the Hawaiian music, if I hear a certain Brothers Casimiro song or a Gabby Pahanui song, I always think of going to Smorgies with my grandpa, and yeah, it just brings back just cool memories, you know. That and that's what music is, you know. Just like, you know, not just Hawaiian music, but you know, other kind of music, you know, blues songs or
Of
funk
course.
songs, you know. And that's why I love playing music, because
Definitely. So speaking of which, what age were you at, and when you were able to kind of, you know, chart your path into being I mean, you consider yourself a professional musician, I assume, right? I know you have
I mean,
you
I
had,
pay bills. I pay bills.
yeah. I mean, you were in Vegas
So,
playing a gig when I met you, so I mean, you're going hopping on a plane to play gigs, and I know you said you were hopping right back. You know, what age were you starting to do that on a regular basis, and then when did like the DJing, radio DJing, that
gotcha,
is,
gotcha.
come into play and all that?
I didn't really get into like just fully immersed in the music thing. Maybe I don't want. Okay, I did this show called Hawaii Stars. It was like a karaoke show, but I wouldn't really say that's when I started music. That was just singing, but just playing guitar and like learning tunes, writing tunes. I would say when I moved to Vegas, like it was like 2006 or seven. I had been playing guitar and writing tunes before, but right when I went to Vegas and I was in the band and writing tunes for the band, you know, that's probably when I started. I was like 23, 24, you know. Um, yeah, and just and when you fall in love too, that's good because you get to write love songs about your girlfriend or your wife and all that. So that was a good time when I met, you know, my wife and all that. So um, yeah, around that time it was good. Came out
And
good.
then when did you start doing radio stuff?
The radio when I moved back home to Hawaii, I think that was 2013 or so. Um, let me see. I had met this guy, Augie T. He's a local comedian here, and he's done radio for years. And I've known him, you know, for yeah, every local person knows Augie T. So he had an episode shoot on 50, and I was on that one of the scenes he was in, and we just started talking. And you know, he messaged me on, I think, Twitter or something, or emailed me, whatever. And he's like, "Hey, you want to come on the show, play a song or two? You know, do an interview for the morning show?" So yeah, sure, no problem. I went there and did a thing, and then like when I went home, he said, "Hey, bro, you want to be part of the morning show?" I'm like, "Oh, all right." And I never done that kind of stuff before, so yeah, I kind of just got suckered into it, and I did it for like 3 years, and didn't really get paid. I mean, Augie would give me a little bit of money, but yeah, and some musubis or funyuns. So like, it was all right. I mean, the sucky thing is just waking up 5 o'clock in the morning, fighting traffic. I live in Minalani, and I have to go all the way in town, and it's like a half hour, 45 minutes. And if there's an accident on the road, oh yeah, you're gonna be there for about an hour, maybe half hour. Like, it sucks. But the cool thing about it was I get to laugh every morning, you know, and I think laughter is the best medicine ever. And yeah, it was cool. We had some ghetto ass people on the show. You know, it was like, yeah.
So you're
But
not doing it anymore? I thought you were still doing the radio stuff.
well, the COVID thing happened, and before the COVID, Augie got laid off,
Oh.
and they were gonna kind of put the show or the station in a different direction.
Hmm.
And I was still there. I was there on the. It was called the Paina, and I was still there, still doing the, you know, like the weekends and all that. I wasn't doing the morning show, and then COVID hit, and like, you know, they have to lay off people. So I was like, I was a little bit bummed, but I wasn't, because like, okay, right on, I don't have to drive all the way into town, you know, because if you're living in like North Shore and you gotta, or Middletown, you gotta go down in town. That's like the worst. That's the worst drive. I was like, I might, as
Yeah.
well, I'm just gonna stay. I'm gonna stay here. But yeah, it was, yeah. it was a little bit of a blessing to get laid off.
Sure. Yeah, it's funny how there's been, I think everyone has their little blessings in disguise that come along with this thing in different forms or another. But so speaking of comedy, because obviously we met once, and why am I talking to you 3-4 years after that, from meeting you once for 10 minutes after a gig? And one of the reasons is you're a very funny person through your social media. And I'm always drawn to funny people my whole life. It's one of my biggest drive. I'm going to spend the most time with people who are the funniest people. That's always been. So that's probably why I've, kept looking at you and kept keeping in touch with you. So were you ever pursuing a proper kind of career? And we can kind of parlay this into what you're doing with the acting stuff, which I actually just found out before I was, doing a little research on you and saw that. But were you at some point pursuing, comedy, say in stand-up or improv or any forms like that? Or were you always just kind of joking around in the different ways you can joke around and stuff like that?
Dude, I love watching SNL. And when I mean SNL, the old school SNL, I mean with Farley, Sandler, Tim Meadows, David Spade, all the good ones. Today, I don't know, it's not that funny. But I was just always a class clown, I was a class clown. I had my heroes. I had Farley, Belushi, John Candy to look up to, a couple big guys. I'm just naturally dumb. That's what it is. The dumb just comes out naturally, I don't know what it is. And I just have a magnet in me, and just crazy people just flock to me. Not to say that you're crazy, but yeah.
I am though, so.
But it's just so weird. It's so weird. I don't know.
I personally think dumb I know what you're getting at. It's kind of a self-deprecating term, but you're definitely not, because the humor does not come from truly dumb people. And all those people you mentioned are no dummies. They're all geniuses in their own right. Yes. So you're certainly not dumb. You may consider yourself dumb in one humorous aspect, but based on the ways you made me laugh through all this stuff on social media, you're not dumb at all. But so yeah, we were talking about SNL. I just wanted to point out that I heard Lorne Michaels say something interesting, because I felt the same way. That was my crew growing up, and then there was a couple years in between there, and then I kind of got back into it when Farrell was on it, and I was watching it again for a few years there. But since then, not really at all. But I heard Lorne Michaels say that it's pretty much everyone's favorite years are when they're in high school. So I think it's really geared, even though it's been especially that first class is probably older people liked it more, people in their 20s and 30s, but with Belushi and Aykroyd and stuff. But I guess it's always been more geared towards really high school age people. If you watch it the last 15 years, I don't know what target, they have some political stuff on there and some stuff, but I haven't really found. And I think those people are pretty funny people, kind of. Yeah, exactly. But they're just not. There's not an execution of stuff that's the
only time. Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no, I was kind of rambling. So
you're a rambling man. Yeah. So the only time that I laugh of the new cast is when they break character. Was it Bill Hader or whatever? Mm-hmm. That guy when they do the Californians. Yeah. Whenever they break out of character, that's when I laugh. I've never laughed just watching the skit. There's there's some of them that I laugh. I don't remember what's the Keenan and Kel guy.
I know you're talking about. I think it's Keenan.
Yeah, Keenan. So he does the "What's Up with That" when he sings.
I've seen that.
What's up with that? Just look on YouTube. It's pretty funny. I find that funny. But I get what you're saying about the. Growing up in high school and the Farley years and all that, those skits are by far the best. I remember going back to school and all my friends talking about, dude, you see the Farley and Patrick Swayze skit, the Chippendales one. I was like, oh yeah, it was so funny. The Chippendale skit is the best.
And we were. It sounds like from what you said, we're close to the same age, but we were younger. That was when we were what? So that was early '90s. So we were probably 12, 11. Yeah. But the whole thing with that class is, and I learned this about this within the last 4 or 5 years, but that class was trashed by that class. I mean, for people I know and myself and you, obviously, I mean, I got more laughs out of that. Well, that in the Farrell class, because Farrell was such a monster.
Yeah.
You know, I probably got the most out of those classes, but apparently the Farley class, the Sandler class, those guys were trashed by critics and whatever, and they had a clean house. But but not even at first, like all the way through the end, like they were getting trashed. Like I think Farley was on the cover of New York something as like the death of comedy. And it's like everybody that's ever met Farley will tell you he's the funniest person they've ever met in their entire life. So I don't, who knows what,
You just don't listen to critics, No,
of course not.
If you're making the public laugh, if you're making the world laugh and whatever, make them happy, then you've done your job, That's how I look at it. And to finish the question off, like I didn't really get into the whole acting thing, whatever, just to get into it. I just fell into it,
Mm-hmm.
like it just signed up to be an extra, whatever, and then I landed a gig, on there, like on 5-0 or whatever. So like that's just been my life for the longest time. I just fall into things, and when I get into the groove, I'm like, okay, I guess this is what I'm doing right now. Porn hasn't called me yet. The universe hasn't said, "Hey, Sean, we want you to be a porn." I'm like, no, it hasn't called yet, but maybe after COVID.
A lot of time left. You got a lot of life left.
I dream. I'm a dreamer.
So tell us a little bit about working on a network show like that. What's that like? How long have you been on Hawaii 5? And then I saw the Magnum PI thing, which I think is more recent, but how long has that been going on? And are you a regular or semi-regular, or how's that?
I would say I'm a semi-regular. I'm a recurring cast member. I was on there since season 3. 5-0 ran for 10 seasons.
Wow.
So 7 years being on there. I played Cousin Flippo. I was peppered in each episode sometimes. I wasn't in every episode, but I was in there, to be, I guess, recognized or whatever. Yeah, man, it was a trip. I remember the first time I went on the set, and I don't know if you watch UFC sometimes.
Not really UFC, no.
Yeah.
I follow it through different just news, sports news sites, and just kind of, but no.
I mentioned that because Kamekona, I don't know if you watched the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, he's the big guy, I think you need a hug, that guy. And if you didn't know, he was in the first UFC. He was a sumo wrestler, and me meeting him, I was just like, oh wow, that's the guy, and I get to be that guy's cousin, I'm like, all right, okay, let's do this, I just remember it was just the coolest thing. I was in a scene with Scott Conn and Alex O'Loughlin and Taylor Grubbs, which is the little girl. I'm just like, what the hell am I doing here? I was like, okay, let's run it, let's run with it, man. So the feeling was the coolest. It was a good feeling, better feeling, getting paid for it. I was like, I get paid to just say one word. I was like, okay, I love America. Right on. That's cool. So yeah, super thankful that I got to do what I did, and on Magnum I did a few things. Played music, played a few episodes. That's the coolest thing about the 5-0 and Magnum. Like I played my songs on there, and I think that's the ultimate goal. One of the goals as a musician, to play a song, one of your tunes, on top of nationwide.
That's awesome. Is there any way to get to those
the
shows that you actually played on? Yeah, I would like to see
I think on iTunes. I think they have it on iTunes. I don't know if they have it on like Amazon Prime for free. Usually Amazon Prime is for free, but you have to pay for it. But I did see, if you go on YouTube and you go Hawaii 5-0 Kamekona or Flippa, Flippa, you might see little scenes of myself in Kamekona and all that. I think so.
Your face just froze in this hilarious face.
Oh,
I don't know. Yeah.
Take a picture of it.
Okay, hold on. And you're still frozen. I just took a shot of it, but you're still frozen. I'm not sure what's going on there.
If I'm around, no.
No, you've been coming through real good too, so I'm not sure. There it
Am I
goes.
still frozen?
No, not anymore. You're good. But the reception is just it's fine, dude. It could be on my end. Although I'm coming through pretty good right now, so I don't think it's me.
My metal plate.
Oh, that's super cool. So you don't obviously have to reveal any of your finances, but those, I would assume you're getting taken care of pretty good by those network shows, no?
It's all right. I mean, like I still struggle. Like I'm getting bottom of the totem pole kind of thing. But at least I'm getting paid to do what I love to do. And that's the coolest thing, man. Like I get residuals sometimes. If it replays in Delaware or replays in Japan or whatever, I get like $1.25 or whatever. It's like, hey, right on. It's $1.25 I never had. Sometimes it adds up, but yeah, it
cool.
helps a lot. Like even during this COVID thing, like I would get like a residual check. I'm like, oh, thank God, now we can get eggs. Now we can get milk, we can get food. But yeah, it's been going good, man.
That's cool, brother. So what do you got planned for the coming months? It doesn't seem like COVID's I guess before we get to you, because since this is all about you, Sean, let's talk about Hawaii. Because I know Hawaii is I think you guys had the big volcano thing. When was that within the last 12 months, or was that like a couple years ago now?
It was like a year. I think a couple years ago, maybe a year ago. Yeah, that was on the Big Island.
Okay.
Of Hawaii. I'm on Oahu, which
Oahu is not the Big Island.
Big Island is right. I'm seeing it right here.
Yeah.
And like Oahu is like somewhere over here. So we're way far away from the volcano. We don't have any volcanoes on our island.
How are you guys doing with COVID? Is it like the rest of us? Like you guys have spikes and valleys, or is it real bad, real okay, or what?
A couple weeks ago, we had two lockdowns. I know 3 lockdowns. The first one was the big one, and then they kind of opened up little things here and there. A little bit of leeway, and then people just got nuts and okay, let's hang out together, and that's where the spike happened. I was like, you freaking idiots! And that time, I never went out. My wife and I never out. We just stayed home because there's nothing to do. There's no gigs. There's no filming. There's no, thank God, no radio. I mean, nothing to do. And then they locked us down again for 2 weeks, and then did it for another 2 weeks. So we're just getting out of that third lockdown, and businesses are opening up slowly but surely. Yeah, I think it's like 50% capacity or whatever, which I really don't understand. They can't make money, whatever. Like, I understand, like just distancing each other and all that, but we still have spikes in COVID, over here, like maybe 70 one day, 100 one day, so like it's freaking stupid.
Does Hawaii tend to lean more right or left in terms of its politics, or is it a mixed bag?
You asked Paul.
I'm just curious because like there's a difference between what California is doing and what Texas is doing. You know what I mean? Like California's been really almost over the top, kind of safe, and Texas was one of the first ones out of the gate. Kind of let's roll this thing out.
Yeah, I mean, Hawaii, all the governors and the whatever those guys over there, they tend to be safe and cautious and all that, but they did do some bonehead, decisions and all that made the locals just like, what the hell are you doing? Whatever. There was a news whatever thing that the governor or the mayor went on, and he was telling people what to do, whatever, and it was out on the street, and somebody had said the F word from the street during a live broadcast. It was F you. It wasn't F you. It was the F-U-C-K word. It was F you on live TV. It was like hilarious. But that's what the locals are. The locals are showing their anger and their frustrations because they're not opening up stuff. Like, I understand it, but in my mind, I'm like, dude, we got to keep this COVID, on whatever, on the wraps and all that, so nobody gets sick anymore. But it's just, I don't know what to believe anymore. So I just stay home.
That's the trick nowadays, right? I mean, this whole fake news thing, it's really become a serious issue. It's like nobody knows what to believe. So
I joked around. Well, I joke around all the time, but I was like, what if everybody just gets COVID? What if everybody just gets it? So we just don't worry about it anymore. You don't have any, spikes and whatever. Everybody has it. Now that everybody has it, we can just go out and just hug each other because we have COVID, so it doesn't matter. Why don't we do that? I was like, I don't know.
We'll see how these next 6 to 12 months go. But yeah, kind of rounding things out and getting back before I teased you with it. What do you have planned? And your family, I guess. How old is your son?
7. He's 7 years old.
Okay, so mine's going to be 5 soon. So that's going to be, we got to worry about school until this whole thing goes. But what do you and your family have planned for the next 6, 12 months as best as you guys can figure things out?
Oh, jeez. Probably the same thing we've been doing for the past 4 months, right. There's nothing else to do. I mean, maybe go to the beach, maybe that. Thank God we had unemployment, so from 5-0. So I don't know if when that runs out, I'm not sure, but I really not looking that far into the future.
Sure.
I'm like a day by day kind of thing, because if I look ahead, it scares me or I get frustrated. And I don't. I'm like, if it happens kind of guy, but just gotta, as George Bush says, gotta stay the course, Well, whatever.
Yeah, man. I mean, we had all these plans, and now
exactly.
Knowing a lot of musicians, obviously, all you do is plan for the next year, or what are we going to do next summer? And now everyone's just like, well, we can plan all we want, but we better be ready for everything to go wrong for a while. So.
I felt like going up to the mainland and doing gigs. Like Florida. Florida's open. It was like, there's so many gigs I can get over there in Florida, or in Vegas. I don't know if Vegas is open, but man, there's so much stuff I can do up in the mainland right now. But over here is just gotta wait.
I don't know. There's probably a few spots that are okay, but honestly, it's not that great. I mean, I'm here in Austin, which is the live music capital in the world, and
exactly
there are gigs, but I don't know what the pay is for these gigs, and I know it's not. It's a fraction of what it would be. So I don't know. I think it's still pretty bleak everywhere.
I've had hit up a few places, and they're not really paying musicians, only for tips.
Right.
I'm like, okay, you look in the crowd and there's 4 people. I'm like, well, looks like I'm not going to get anything today, maybe $1, but I've done the freebies, It's
no.
I've earned my, whatever, but it is what it is, and you just got to go with it, bro.
For sure, Sean. Well, thank you so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. And I wish you the best.
You too,
I'm sure
bro.
You'll be fine, man. You're a good guy.
Does good
in this life with a good set. Make people laugh, make people smile. You're going to be fine. So thanks again. And hopefully we'll be seeing each other in who knows, another year or 2 or 3. Who knows?
All right, brother.
All right. Take care, Sean. Peace, buddy.
Yep.